Yo, what's going on, Winning Shot family, man? It's your boy Collin, and I'm back with Hundo for another exclusive episode for the 2025 draft. We've had a lot of exciting players get drafted, so there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to look completely different. We have a lot more draft coverage coming. John's going to record a video later, but I just wanted to hop on and talk with Hundo, man, about this Shedeur Sanders slide. That's probably been the main topic of this whole draft ever since it began. We expected Shedeur to go in the first or second round at least, but we see that he slid all the way down to the fifth round. There's been a number of different pundits, experts, just random people saying that it's racist. Some people are saying that Shedeur doesn't pop off the screen. So we just want to kind of debunk all those things, just have a conversation through the winning shot about what this means for Shedeur, what this means for the draft, and what this is going to mean for the Sanders family moving forward. So, Hundo, how do you feel about number one, the draft, and then we'll get into the topic about Shedeur?
Yeah, man. So the draft was pretty good. I think the biggest news outside of Shedeur was that first round trade of Jacksonville moving up to go get Travis and Cleveland trading back. So that was good to see. Travis ended up in Florida, and then Broncos. I was expecting us to go running back in the first round, but we went defensive back. And after looking at some more footage of Barron, versatile, can move around a little bit, probably could play a little bit of safety as well. So I'm not mad at that pick. You need depth at the cornerback position, especially in the AFC West. It's only getting tougher. So we're gonna see, man. Excited for the upcoming season. What were your thoughts?
Yeah. I thought it was a solid draft. I think like there was a lot of smoke screens, about news coverages, even with the Saints, because in the mock draft I had the Saints getting Shedeur, but they went and got Tyler Shuck, whatever his name is. So it's gonna be interesting to see like some of those teams. I think like the Giants, for example, they made a lot of noise, but it's like, with Jackson Dart, we're gonna see if it's worth them coming back into the first round or whatnot. For the Colts specifically, I really liked our draft. I think we did the best with what we can. We weren't looking to get a quarterback in this draft, so I think we just kind of duke it out with AR and Daniel Jones. But low key, like if Riley Leonard can compete, I think he has an opportunity for that starting job as well. And some of our other moves I liked on defense. We got the guy from Minnesota, I believe, I forget his name, Wiley or something like that. And obviously, we didn't expect Tyler Warren to fall into our laps. I thought it was going to be Colston Loveland. But Tyler Warren's a dog, and I think we kind of need more dogs on the team. I think a lot of times we look for talent, but I need people that want to be there and want to compete. So I think we got that with Tyler. But overall, I think the draft was pretty good. So before we kind of get into the topic, like when we talk about the Jacksonville trade, like you mentioned, do you believe? I know you mentioned on the live podcast we did. Do you feel like Jacksonville, that the Browns fleeced Jacksonville in the trade?
I think so, man. Getting more draft picks, drop back 3 spots, you get a top defensive lineman. We gonna see how it pans out for them with the draft picks that they had. Like we mentioned, they later, not because of this trade, but later on, they did draft 2 quarterbacks. So a deep quarterback room already. So we gonna see. But yeah, I definitely think Cleveland won that trade still. Jacksonville definitely got a great player in Travis. But yeah, whenever you can build draft capital like that, especially for a rebuilding team and a team that was bad, I wouldn't necessarily say rebuilding, but a bad team. Yeah, it's always good.
Yeah. My only issue with the trade, though, and somebody mentioned this on another podcast, like those two, the GM and the coach, are both brand new. So you don't even know what you got. And so you don't even know, like, first week of practice, whether you actually needed those picks or not to win now. Because, I mean, Trevor's contract is already, set in. So you got to win now. And I just feel like making a jump for Travis, I think it was like it's a move to make them relevant, but I don't know necessarily if he can give the production that it was worth with all those picks. Like you're expecting him to be all pro, probably year 2 or 3. And I just don't think that's what he is. I think that he's going to be an impact player on both sides, but I don't know necessarily think he's going to be elite at both. I think he can be elite at one. I just think that how they use him is going to be important. But that kind of player, I mean, that kind of draft capital, you're expecting him to come in and like give you 4 or 5 wins. And I think that can really only happen at the quarterback position. And I don't know, it's just really going to be indicative of Trevor and how they use him.
Yeah. And going off what you said for Jacksonville, I agree with you. It's definitely hard to secure wins in a sense if you're a cornerback or a wide receiver. As you mentioned, a lot of it is going to fall on Trevor in that offense to really see how good they can be. Like we mentioned earlier last season, it's like they were in the conversation to win that division.
Yeah.
They were in the conversation to win that division. That was possibly their best chance to possibly win that division going into last season. So we gonna see, man. Like division's only gonna get better, schedule's only gonna get tougher. So we gonna see, man. And the direction of Trevor, the direction of ETN, also on the offense, that's gonna be big in the next this season and the years to come.
Yeah. And I mean, with all those mocks coming out saying that the Jags might have gotten Genty, that must mean that the GM and head coach aren't really sold on Travis. So I don't know what's going on internally. And I just feel like for a great wide receiver, we've seen it countless times where you have great wide receivers, but a poor roster can still make you the number one pick next year. And the thing is, next year, Cleveland owns that pick. So I just feel like it's one of those situations like if you're Kansas City, if you're a contender, I could see making that move because for them, it's like, yeah, I'm one piece away and I'm still going to compete because I have my quarterback set motion. Jacksonville doesn't even know they had a quarterback or a running back. So it's like, I don't necessarily think striking out like that or hitting for the fences like that, it could easily lead you striking out.
And
So,
maybe a team like a Minnesota, right? Where Sam Darnold stepped in and was able to lead them to the playoffs and a winning season with some average quarterback, right?
yeah.
You got a premier wide receiver in Jettas. I'm not saying Travis is Jettas or anything, but you got Brian Thomas. You got weapons out there. So maybe if Trevor is able to stay healthy, can give them something positive to look forward to, maybe.
Yeah, that's real. That's interesting. Okay, so let's talk about this. So we know we expected Shedeur to go first or second round. My comp for him was more like a Drew Brees. I think that he had the opportunity to, make some decent plays. I don't necessarily think that he was ever a spectacular athlete or a spectacular quarterback, but I think he had what it took to get it done. And so I knew at the latest he was going to probably be second round. The mock draft, I had him going to the Saints, and the Saints went offensive tackle. And so we were really looking at 21 because we thought the Steelers with 21 was probably the best option for him to go out of the first round. But then it started to get disrespectful. The second round went by, the third round went by, the fourth round went by. And then obviously we see that the Cleveland Browns selected him in the fifth round after previously selecting Dylan Gabriel in the previous round. So it seems like there's going to be an open competition for all 5 quarterbacks coming into this next season, except for Deshaun, because I think he's still going to be out. But what were your initial reactions to what happened when he didn't get selected in the first round?
Yeah, so when he didn't get selected in the first round, my thing is there was only a few teams that could have gotten him, right?
Yeah.
The conversation was the Saints, if not the Saints, the Steelers. So the Saints didn't get him, as you mentioned. And the Steelers get on the clock, just waiting. I'm like, okay, they about to call Shedeur. Nope, defensive lineman. So I'm like, dog, okay, cool. And then we get the news that the Giants trade back into the first round. Okay, maybe we saw the footage of Shedeur throwing the ball with Malik Neighbors in the street. Okay, maybe they trade back and get him. Nope, Jackson Dart. So I'm like, dog, okay. The teams that needed a quarterback either decided to go in a different direction or chose a different quarterback. Or as we saw in the second round with the dude that the Saints drafted, right?
Yeah.
So it was just like at that point, okay, everybody has a quarterback except the Steelers. So now I'm just waiting around for the Steelers. I'm like, okay, Steelers, third round. They don't have a second round pick. So third round comes around, no quarterback. I'm like, dog, the Steelers didn't pick him in the third round. Yeah. So it was really just waiting around to see what the Steelers were going to do. They never pulled the trigger. And then we see the Browns, like you mentioned, go get Dylan Gabriel. That was my big question. Why draft Dylan Gabriel and later on get Shedeur? It's just like, bro, you draft two rookie quarterbacks. You
Yeah,
already got D Watt on the roster. You already got Kenny Pickett on the roster, and you got Flacco on the roster. And you draft
right.
two quarterbacks. I'm like, bro, like that don't make no sense to me.
Yeah. And my assumption with them getting the draft capital from Jacksonville was they were probably looking to get a quarterback in 2026. That's what my thought was. So when they didn't go quarterback at 5, I was like, okay, they're just trying to build the roster so that whoever comes in 2026 is going to have, endless weapons. But you know, this is my only thing. Everybody's talking about John Elway and Eli Manning. And my only pushback with that is this. At that time, Eli Manning and John Elway were head and shoulders. I would probably say Phillip Rivers in that draft was probably closer to Eli. But there was head and shoulders that they were going to get picked in the top 5. And I think them making the statement, while nobody is mad at Eli and John Elway for making that statement, it was still a risky business. Because imagine if Eli's dad would have said, hey, we're not going to any other team and the Giants don't select them. And it's like, okay, they're going to be waiting for the Giants to select them in round 2, in round 3, in round 4, in round 5. And I think a lot of teams, like when Deion came out and made those comments a couple months ago saying that he's going to handpick the teams, like a lot of teams were kind of turned off by that. And so we saw the reports where they said that Shedeur he was like sandbagging teams in the interviews. I really do believe that, because I think Shedeur had in mind that he was going top 5 and that a lot of these other teams, he wasn't going to necessarily need to show his best self in the interview. It happens all the time. But the problem with that is I think a lot of teams were like, hey, we want to get you, but in 4 to 5 years from now, we don't know if we have a starter on our team. Because when you draft in the first and second round, you're drafting a 10 to 15 year vet. That's what you're assuming. And so we know you don't want to be here, then we're not going to try to invest this capital in a guy that doesn't want to be here. And I think that's what a lot of the people passing on him, especially contenders, and I think you mentioned this in the chat, but it's like, he's not a good backup. He's always been a starter. And I think for him, it's kind of like Cam Newton when he went to New England. Like, even if he's the backup with Cleveland, the cameras are going to be on him. Everybody's going to be talking about it. As soon as you lose, when is Shedeur coming in? When are we going to try Shedeur? And I think a lot of teams, especially contenders, didn't want to have to deal with it. Because imagine you being in a situation like the LA Rams where you have Matt Stafford and they go on a 2-game skid. Everybody's going to be like, why don't you try Shedeur? And Sean McVay doesn't want to have to deal with answering questions like that. And I think low key, in the Steelers' mind, they already think they have Aaron Rodgers. Now, whether they get him or not, I don't know. But I don't think they wanted to deal with the, hey, Aaron Rodgers is not looking good or his best self at 40. Put Shedeur in. Mike Tomlin's not that type of person. And I think he's had enough of that drama on the outside with George Pickens and DK. He's not trying to add more drama. He wants to solidify that defense and then bring in a vet. And I just feel like Shedeur just kind of got caught in the perfect storm where after about the second round, everybody's looking for a good backup. And for Shedeur, teams didn't want to deal with him, but also people didn't want to deal with the Sanders family and all the leaks and all these things coming out about starting him. So those are my immediate thoughts. But what do you think?
And to your point too, and I'll look at it from the Steelers perspective, right? Because you mentioned Tomlin having to deal with that drama, right? He
Yeah.
low-key dealt with it already last year with Fields and Rice,
Yep.
right? Where they started the season with Justin Fields. They bench him. Didn't really play necessarily bad. Decided to bench him, and then Russ comes in. Russ starts to struggle late in the season, and now you have this conversation that, okay, are y'all gonna put Fields back in, or y'all rocking with Russ? They decided to rock with Russ, right? So you bring in somebody like a Shedeur Sanders. Even if you do get Aaron Rodgers, like you said, if they start to slide, if they start to lose games, that's gonna come up. And as we mentioned, with Shedeur possibly being a backup, right? That's always going to be lingering. When's he
Yep.
going to come in? Unless you go somewhere like a Buffalo or like Kansas City or Baltimore, where top tier quarterbacks are there, of course, yeah, you're gonna be the backup. But pretty much almost any other team, just a few other teams out there that have their guy already, but they start to lose and Shedeur's on the roster and he's the backup. It's just like, dog, like, when's he gonna get in? When's he gonna get his chance? That's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. But like my thing with Cleveland is like, if I'm Shedeur, low key, right? I don't want to be there. Like he's already said he doesn't want to be there. But like you look at this roster, like we said, they have 5 quarterbacks. They already drafted a quarterback in front of him. So do you not believe in Dylan Gabriel? Do you what's the direction of DY? Are y'all gonna trade him? Is he still gonna be on the roster? Flacco needs to retire. It's just like a lot of questions in the decision making that went into the Cleveland selection in itself. And I'm just like, bro, like Cleveland, like, bro, what are y'all doing?
Yeah. And I think it's the difference is, bro, it's one thing to draft Shedeur to Cleveland round 2, round 3, but you have disrespected him by drafting a quarterback, a person at his position above him. So even if he is successful, let's say that he is, an average quarterback in this league, that he doesn't want to be there. So as soon as the contract season comes up, he's going to request a trade because for him, he doesn't need the money. It's like this is just an added bag. And for Cleveland, like you said, honestly, when I saw it, I was like, man, this had to be from Myles Garrett. Like, I think Myles wanted him or wanted an answer at quarterback, and the current regime was not cutting it. And I believe that meeting that they were having talking about his contract, he just, because I think there was like an interview Myles Garrett did. He said he just wanted to know what the future hold. Like he wanted to know what the Browns were going to do. And I think there were a couple promises made. And I think how they handled it was poorly, but they're trying to create a competition because I believe Shedeur was probably one of those teams that he sandbagged the interview where he made it known he doesn't want to go to Cleveland. And I want to kind of touch on that real quick because I believe that he was, in the same way we praise Deion and how Deion's been a great father to Shiloh, Deion Sanders Jr. and Shalima and Shedeur, we also have to hold him accountable because I think like Deion has tried to use his influence to weasel Shiloh into where he needs to be. But I think what Deion didn't consider was like Deion could do that at that time because he was the best corner to come out. He was literally the best athlete. So he had that power and influence. This wasn't the case this year. And the problem I have, if it's true that, Deion was instructing him to, sandbag the interviews or, to try to handpick where he's going, you're not dealing just with the people you're interviewing. Like those people are connected to the GMs, they're connected to the exec, and some of those scouts that you're probably interviewing with, those assistant coaches and coaches, they're going to be at other teams at different years. And so they have that image of you in their head. And so now when it's time to, go to another team, people are going to remember that. And I just hate how, we're saying, oh yeah, other people do it. But it's like, Shedeur is not other people. You're playing one of the most important positions in the league. And I'm not worried about Shedeur this year because I know that he's probably going to compete. He's probably going to do good. It's just in those later years, people remember like the last memory they had with you. And it's like, once you leave a bad taste in people's mouth, stuff like this spreads and it just kind of cripples his ability to become great in the league because now everybody's going to be against you. And so you can't say, oh, everybody's against me just because of the Sanders name. No, how you treat people matters too. And I just didn't really rock with it if that's true that Deion had instructed him to do that.
Yeah. And my only counter to that would be coming into the draft season at the end of the college football season, right? Like the conversation was about Cam Ward, Travis, Shedeur. Those were the biggest 3 names in coming into the draft season, right? So if it is true that he was, sandbagging teams and telling teams he didn't want to be there, my thing is, bro was arguably the second, if not at worst, the 3rd ranked quarterback in this class. So it's like, even if he did like sandbag teams, but there's nothing he could have said, in my opinion, to where he drops from being potentially a 1st to 2nd round pick to dropping all the way to the 5th round.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I agree.
Bro, like he interviewed that bad, like that couldn't be all of it, bro.
Yeah, but I think that the reason why he dropped was because outside of two, I think there's a lot of quarterback. I mean, a lot of teams that needed a backup quarterback, but they're like, we know we can't bring Shedeur in the house. Like, even for us, like I would like Shedeur on the team, but I know Chris Ballard is probably like, we already got so many questions with AR and DJ, and like he's having to answer those questions. If we bring in Shedeur, it won't be a competition. Everybody will be saying, bring it, like put Shedeur in. And the thing I worry about, and we kind of touched on this during his season at Colorado, there's been a lot of problems with him at quarterback. Like he can make every throw, I believe, but like him holding the ball in the pocket, like you can't do that in the NFL. And I believe like a lot of teams are like, what does he look like outside of his dad? Because his dad's been with him since the beginning. And so can he take coaching from people that's not his dad? Like there's going to be a lot of quarterback coaches, there's going to be a lot of assistant coaches that get into him, especially when he makes mistakes, and how does he handle that? And so I'm not sure how, we haven't seen it, but I think people use those interviews as like, okay, he's not coachable, or he's just not a great attitude guy. So I just feel like it was a perfect storm and all of these things that were happening to him. But I don't necessarily believe it was racist, though, in my opinion.
Question: do you think when we look at teams that possibly could have drafted him, do you think the Steelers made a mistake in not drafting him?
Knowing the Steelers, no, because from Art Rooney and Mike, they said they had Harmon drafted like in terms of rank higher on their board than Shedeur. I think that first pick, no, but I think when it got to like second and third, I do believe like they made a mistake then, because you're betting your entire future on Aaron Rodgers, and I don't think that he has 2 years in him, 2 to 3 years in him. So, but that first, because this is the thing, this has always been the Steelers. If they got a defensive guy they want, they're gonna go get him regardless. So I don't necessarily believe that, based on their culture and history, that it was a mistake. That's what Mike Tomlin wanted. That's the Mike Tomlin guy, especially with Cameron Hayward about to retire soon. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I get that they needed defensive line help, and I get that they are a franchise that values defense, specifically the front seven. But when your problem has been quarterback since Big Ben, like that's a huge red flag. They haven't had a successful starting quarterback since Big Ben retired. You have to address that early. With Shedeur Sanders being on the board, you got to take him. And then you putting all your eggs in a basket for Aaron Rodgers, a 40-year-old.
Yeah, but my only thing with that though is like, you don't know the conversations that are having, because Aaron Rodgers could be like, hey, if he sees y'all draft Shedeur, I'm out. Like, because that's just going to create a lot of.
Woo.
I get it, but you know that the Steelers want to compete, and I don't know
You don't think Shedeur helps them compete?
Year one with that roster and division.
Bro, they got weapons now.
I'm not saying me. I'm saying from the Steelers organization, their point of view, I believe their eggs are in the basket with Aaron Rodgers because they want to compete for Super Bowls. And I don't think that they believe that they can do that with Shedeur. Even that article I sent you with Art Rooney said any quarterback that they draft and any quarterback that they get in this draft, they're going to sit out a year. And I believe for Shedeur, if he could sit a year under Aaron Rodgers, that would be the best for him. Like, I think ideal scenario would have been him going to LA and sitting under Matt Stafford. You already got the defense. You got Puka Nacua. You can sit for a year. Whenever Matthew Stafford comes in, he can come in and compete. I just think there's a lot more learning that Shedeur needs to do. And I just don't think plug and play he is going to take that team to the Super Bowl. I think they believe that more with Aaron Rodgers. And that's just honest, because I mean, with Shedeur, like, there's still a lot of questions. Like, even in my head, I did not have him as a first round grade. It was more like second or third. But I just don't think that for him right now as a rookie, and you can't ask any rookie to do that. He's not going to have the same impact that he did at Colorado. Let's just be honest. And I just think with them going to get DK, they want to win now. Mike Tomlin has been on the hot seat, really, because you remember my rant, like they win in the regular season, but they do nothing in the playoffs. And I think that's kind of like been the story of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They want to take that hump, and I just don't think that's what Shedeur right now.
I definitely I get that point, but I don't know. It's just something about going to get a 40-year-old that recently tore his Achilles. I get you want to win now, but bro, you got to think long term too.
Yeah,
Like he's only gonna be there at most a year, at most 2 years. Aaron Rodgers, if you get him, Shedeur is gonna be there. Like you draft a quarterback early, even Jackson Dart, he's gonna be there. Like if you're the Steelers organization, you gotta think long term, bro. And that's
yeah.
probably a problem. Trying to solve it shorthand, quick. They signed Russ, didn't get the job done. Justin Fields didn't get the job done. Both of them are gone. Why not? Why not draft a quarterback early? You haven't done it in years, and we've seen you struggle.
Yep.
So it's like, bro, why not? Why not get a young guy who could come in and possibly either, if not develop, but come in and start immediately to change the trajectory of your franchise?
So if Shedeur gets on their roster, hypothetically, what do you think a realistic record for them would be this year?
With DK, I think they can get a wild card spot in the playoffs.
See, my only thing though is like we're expecting Shedeur to come in and look like he did at Jackson State in Colorado. There's a lot of growing pains with rookies. Like even with the Titans, I don't expect Cam Ward to come out looking like Patrick Mahomes just yet.
But like you said, like this roster is not bad. The Steelers roster is not bad.
No, I'm not saying that.
I think Shedeur is arguably better than Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, who they had at quarterback. I think he's an upgrade.
No.
He can make the throws, bro, on the field.
Year one, he's gonna look like Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Like you're gonna see probably both of them in the same picture. Like there's just going to be growing pains. Now, long term, I think he's going to be better than Russ and Justin Fields. But right now, no, that's disrespectful to Russ. Russ is still an average quarterback. And I think
so Shedeur not average.
We don't know. This is the NFL we're talking about.
Man, stop.
I'm saying long term, he is going to be a good quarterback, in my opinion. But I'm saying you're expecting year one him to drop into the AFC North and just compete. Like,
yes,
I don't see.
Yes,
I don't see it personally. I think it suits him to just learn back up. The Browns, he's going to start. But even if he started for the Browns today, they're not making the playoffs. I guarantee you.
No, they're definitely not. But that roster is not as good as Pittsburgh's either, especially on the offensive end.
I mean, but I think you're saying it because they got DK, but that roster was terrible last year, even their offensive line.
And guess what? They made the playoffs.
They did. But I'm just saying, it's like you lose Najee, and you get the guy from Iowa. There's no guarantee he hits. So if you have no running game,
they still got Jaylen Warren.
I mean, he's solid. But I'm just saying, it's like we know Pittsburgh's physicality. You even get some injuries like they do every year. I don't know. I don't see it. I think long term, I am agreeing. I think he's going to be better than Russell Wilson. But if you're just talking plug and play, then I think at best, what the Steelers are probably saying is like he will be Aaron Rodgers, like a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers. It's like, why can't we just wait for Aaron Rodgers? Because it's not just about can he make the throws, can he process? You're talking about the NFC North with probably some of the best defenses in the league. Can he process on the fly? He can't hold on to the ball like he did in Colorado. And a lot of times,
they got one good defense in the AFC North.
The Browns don't have a good defense.
They got Myles Garrett.
I mean, they got Denzel Ward. They got Mason Thompson now. Like, it's solid defense, bro. They might not have it on offense,
and the Bengals are trash.
Absolutely. But I feel like for Shedeur, yes, he can make all the throws, but it's more from just transitioning to the NFL. We've seen a lot of great first-round quarterbacks fail their first year, and it just takes time.
We've seen some first-rounders make the playoffs too.
Absolutely.
Especially in recent years.
So are we referencing Jaden Daniels
and
CJ Stroud? Do you believe he's on that trajectory?
I mean, good.
Do you believe he's in that class?
Like you said, we don't know.
That's what I'm saying. So we on different sides of the table. So
with the AR.
He could be. He good because there was a lot of times, though, we were sitting there watching the Colorado games. We were like, that boy got to hold on to he got to stop holding on to the ball. He's got to
Yeah,
be able to process better.
I do think that's a problem. Him holding on to the ball and him trying to run out the pocket to try to make something happen. Not necessarily like running for yards, but just like running around in the backfield to try to wait for somebody to get open. I do think that's a big problem in this game. We've talked about it before, but I definitely just I don't know, bro. It's something about going young when you're a franchise like that I respect more than going to get a 40-year-old, bro. Like this man is 40.
Yeah, I agree, bro. And I think the other difference too with CJ and Jaden, though, I'll use Jaden as the example. Like it was a total regime change. Like they went and got Cliff Kingsbury. They went and invested in offense for him. And my only problem is like even if you plug and play Shedeur in Pittsburgh, we know that they still have a defensive culture. And if you ask that man to, hand it off to Warren and do that 1942 offense, I just don't think that fits him. And I think if you were going to make that move, go invest in him completely. Go get the best offensive coordinator. Go and try to like help him to transition into the league. I just
But
think it's just go ahead.
okay, but what about the notion of being a game manager, right? To where he
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily have to make the crazy throws to win the game. He just has to take care of the ball.
I mean, I gotta see.
Okay, so like for example, let's say they get Aaron Rodgers. Are you expecting him to like what are we expecting from Aaron Rodgers? Like 30 touchdowns, what? 8, 10, 12 picks? Like what are we expecting from Aaron Rodgers that's different from what Shedeur could possibly give you?
See, my only thing though with Aaron, I think it's more so he knows the game. Like, and I'm not saying that Shedeur can't. Like, I think they could. I think like probably 35, 36 touchdowns probably for Aaron Rodgers. But in terms of like those growing pains, you're not going to have that with Shedeur. Like Aaron Rodgers is going to come in and know every defense in the league, know every defensive coordinator, and know what they expect. There's going to be some times where Shedeur probably sees ghosts like Sam Darnold, and he's just not going to know because he's just a young quarterback. We've seen even in Washington, there were a couple of games where Jaden he had terrible games, right? And that's what I'm saying. If you're going to do that, then invest in an OC that can help him transition. We haven't seen that with Arthur Smith because Arthur Smith came from Tennessee and their primary offense was Derrick Henry. And even this year, it was the same thing with Najee, running Najee to death and then trying to hope on third down that you can get it George Pickens. I just don't think that's feasible for him growing and his development as a quarterback, especially in year one. So, yeah. I don't know, bro. I think he'll be decent. I just feel like Cleveland's gonna fumble it because they've already shown that they can't handle good quarterbacks. Even Baker, like they should have kept Baker. Now Baker is succeeding in Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that same trajectory, man, like even if he's good, I don't think that Cleveland's gonna handle him right.
So who do you think is going to be the starting quarterback for the Browns going into next season?
Low-key, I could see Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett. Low-key.
I'm interested to see when D White is going to be back. Because, like, that's my thing. Is like, you pay this man all this money. The owner and GM already said pretty much that this was a bust. This was a waste of a signing or whatever. So it's like, are you going to trade the man? And then if you trade him, you still got to pay him that money. What you going to get in return for him?
Nothing.
Flacco's old. He needs to retire. So are you rolling with Kenny Pickett? Are you hoping Shedeur is going to be the answer or Dylan Gabriel? It's just so many questions there, bro. Like, I don't know, bro. Like, if I'm Shedeur, bro, just cut me, bro. Let me go somewhere else.
Yeah, like, and yeah, go ahead.
No. That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, and I was saying the same thing. I want Shedeur to flourish in a place that wants him, And I just feel like whether he gets the starting job or doesn't get the starting job, there are going to be questions. And I just feel like for Cleveland, you need to be answering questions on the field, but all of their concerns and questions are going to be off the field. And it's not, like you said, it's not a great roster, especially offensively. And you got to hope the defense can keep you in games. And I just think that he's set up for failure, even if he succeeds, because whoever wins the starting job, if Dylan gets beat up by Shedeur, now you got questions about the other three quarterbacks. Do you cut them? Do you trade them? Because you can't get any trade value from Deshaun. Same thing the other way, because you can't keep Shedeur in that roster, especially as a 3 or a 2 quarterback. Like every week, there's going to be a Shedeur camp just for him every game, and
Yeah.
that just brings too much noise to an organization that historically has been terrible.
And you talked about it earlier with the Steelers about how they should have invested in, offensive coordinator. But my thing is with the Browns, like we saw D Watt go down. A lot of that was because of a trash offensive line.
Yeah,
So it's like, yo, you turn around in the draft, you get all these picks. You don't even draft a lineman. So it's like,
exactly.
yo, like what are you doing to put these quarterbacks in a position to succeed? I mean, you got Njoku, he's still on the roster, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Jerry Judy.
Very
But other
true.
than that, it's just like who do I have to throw the ball to? Who do I have protecting me? Like, I don't want to be in that situation where I'm running for my life.
Yeah, I agree, bro. I, do you think that Shador is going to be on the roster next year?
It, they have 5 quarterbacks, bro. Like, you're not keeping 5 quarterbacks on the roster. Um, as I mentioned, Flacco's the oldest one. These old dudes got to go, bro. If you ain't picked up nothing from me yet, these old dudes got to go. Aaron Rodgers, go home. Flacco, go home. They got to go, bro. But it just depends on what direction the Browns want to go. Like if they're more confident in Flacco being a starting quarterback, I don't think you keep 2 rookies on the team. So whether they try to, I don't know. Like, do you trade one of them? I mean, one of them possibly, potentially, don't want to wish it on them, but if somebody goes down with an injury, then maybe okay, yeah, we're just gonna let him. We're just gonna cut him. But
Yeah,
I don't know, bro. Like if I'm Shedeur, I don't even want to be on the roster.
that's what I'm
Not,
saying.
not with 5 quarterbacks on the roster. I'm not even looking at the rest of the roster, bro. We got 5 quarterbacks, and y'all drafted a quarterback in front of me in the 3rd round. Why am I here? Why did y'all draft me? Like, yes, I'm glad to be drafted, but like, why did y'all draft me, bro? Like,
Yeah,
y'all already drafted somebody in the 3rd round.
because in the press conferences they do with the rookies, do you do Dylan's first or do you do Shador? Because you know what the media is gonna go like.
Hey, you see the NFL Combine pictures where Travis getting
Right,
interviewed over there. We got somebody from
exactly.
North Dakota getting interviewed over here, and they only got 2 people.
Yeah, you can't bring them in on the same day. You can't, because we know who the starters is already because the media showed you. So I don't know, bro. I feel like Cleveland dysfunctional teams make desperate moves like this. Jacksonville, Cleveland, they traded with each other, and I think they're both dysfunctional. And I just feel like for Shador, I'm not even trying to sound like a hater, but like I think there were issues and clear questions I had with him in college. And I just wish that in the NFL he would have gotten somewhere that he could have stability and he could mature quicker with a great OC, great organization. That's why I wanted him in LA. I was like, man, him with Sean McVay, he'll have time to sit, learn, and have a great defense, great roster, and come in and succeed. Now it's just a lot of questions, man, because even if they suck, you know the media is gonna be like, when is Shador coming in? And then the media is going to be like, is Dion coming to the Browns? Like, it's just going to be a bunch of noise. I'm like, okay.
And I wonder what that conversation was like between other teams in the draft, right? Because, like you said, like LA probably could have been a good spot, and we talked about it earlier about him being a backup. But, bro, like if you have an established quarterback already, why not bring him in so he can learn?
Yeah.
Like if you're like the Chiefs, if you're the Eagles, if you're literally who else? Baltimore. I
Yeah.
mean, those are a couple of places that have established quarterbacks already. The Bengals, you have an established quarterback. The Bills, established quarterback. So it's like, why not bring in this guy so he can learn from the guys that you have, and whether you play him or not, he gets that experience.
Yeah. I feel like, to answer your question, for the contenders, especially in the earlier rounds, they're contenders. So they're worried about people who can play now. And I feel like for the later rounds, some of the contenders just don't want that noise, because even though you're never going to replace Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, the question is going to be, hey, like, especially goes to the Bengals, and the Bengals suck again this year. Zach Taylor is going to be on the hot seat. And the question is going to be, hey, who are the eligible coaches? And you bring Dion in there, like, he might go with Joe Burrow, or they might trade him. Like, teams don't want to answer those questions. And so I just feel like a lot of the problem with him going after round 3, a lot of teams was like, do we just take the risk and have to deal with those questions? And I feel like for a lot of contenders, they're like, nah, like, we just need a guy like um, a Will Howard. You don't have to ask no questions. Like, he is going to be a backup. Like, he fits a backup mold. He can produce, but he's not coming in with no noise, no drama. So yeah. How do you think we'll touch on this briefly, but do you think that Shiloh can do anything with the Bucks? Well, I thought your camera was frozen.
Bruh, no, bruh. No, bruh. I mean, I'm glad he got signed, but no. I mean, I think he's a hard hitter. If he can come in and make tackles and stuff, maybe they think about moving him to linebacker or something. But I mean, as a safety, I mean, I don't know. I mean, he gonna hit some people. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe a special teams guy if he can make the team. You know, I don't see him as like a starter or anything.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like this is the best case scenario, going under Ty Bowles in that defense. So maybe he can slide into a backup role, like a DeMar Hamlin kind of role, where it's like, I know DeMar Hamlin started this past year, but like previously, DeMar Hamlin was a backup. So if he could do something like that, special teams, like you said, be an impact guy that way, I think he could find
Mhm.
himself on rosters moving forward, but not an impact guy. Yeah, you got anything else you want to talk about with Shedeur? No?
Nah, I'm just interested to see how it's gonna play out. Like I said, the Browns got 5 quarterbacks, bro. Like they got to figure something out, bro. Like I'm not even mad about. I mean, I guess I'm mad a little bit about him slipping and falling, but it's just like, bro, like I'm more mad at the Browns. Like,
Yeah,
bro, why did y'all draft him?
yeah. I, and the thing is, I know that the Browns were probably feeding him information that he was going to get drafted earlier in the interviews and stuff like that. And you hear the reports, but it's like the same team waited, what, 100 picks to draft me. Like, I just can't take y'all seriously ever. And for Shedeur, he's not another player. He does not need the NFL. He's made tens of millions of dollars outside. So it's like, you got a guy who doesn't want to be in your franchise, nor doesn't need the NFL. I just hope Shedeur stays humble, but he doesn't need to. I feel like for him, he knows in the back pocket that he doesn't need this. And that kind of mentality, man, you'll go crash out at practice.
And I wonder, kind of like we talked about his mentality. Like, what is his mentality going into Cleveland? Like,
Yeah.
is he already thinking, "Bro, I'm about to leave. I'm gonna
Yeah.
stay here these what 2, 3, 4 years, however many years on his rookie contract, and I'm gone." Or does he go in with the mindset of, "Bro, I'm about to go start. I'm
Yeah.
about to show them."
I mean,
So
I
it's like
feel like, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say. So I just wonder what his mindset is gonna be going into the situation. Like, is he gonna come in looking to start or already 1 foot out the door?
Yeah, I think he has to go out and kill. like if he gets the opportunity, because he can't have like this lazy mentality and suck, because then it's gonna validate everything that the NFL was saying. I feel like if he goes out and kills, he like year two, year three, he can like have that mentality because everybody knows what he can do in the league. But
Mm,
because you can easily be Trey Lance, where it's like, yeah, you're not on any rosters anymore. But if he kills like 1 to 2 years, then I think they're going to be teams vying for him, and now he can have that FU mentality. But
mm,
on and like we said, there's still questions of him as a quarterback. Like, let's not get it twisted. This is probably the worst draft in the past couple of years of quarterback. So I feel like for him, he still has to go out and prove that he can succeed in this league. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Shout out to Milrow, man. Shout out to Milrow, man. Going to Seattle, pretty good situation for him.
yeah. Prime
You know,
example. He's going to learn under Sam. Oh my gosh, cat.
soft,
Like,
soft.
word. Let this man dunk on him like that. But yeah, like prime example, he's going to learn under Sam. There's not going to be too many expectations, and I think that if he develops under the right OC, he can come in and kill.
Yeah.
Like that's why I was telling you and John, I was like, I don't want him to go to the Steelers. Like the Steelers does not fit him. They're not going to use him right. Like
Mm,
he is not Big Ben in any stretch of the imagination.
yeah.
So
This is true.
yeah. Was there any more surprises from the draft that you saw?
Um, I really like the Eagles first round pick, getting
Yeah,
Campbell, inside linebacker from Bama. That was a good pickup for them. And like we talked about, building around like defense and having an identity. The Eagles have an identity.
yeah,
They're going after defense. We're gonna fly around. We got Jalen Hurts, we got Saquon, we got AJ Brown, we got Devontae Smith. We just gonna lock in on this defense, and we gonna go from there.
yeah. I really like the Bears draft. We're gonna know everything we need to know after for Caleb this year.
Yeah,
And I think for Ben Johnson, he's trying to build the Lions. same kind of roster, tight end, two receivers, offensive line, all that. So I'm excited to see what that looks like because I think that they have the roster to dominate. Now it's going to be on whether he has the quarterback to.
yeah, yeah. We gonna see. It's no more excuses for Mr. Williams. They got better at offensive line. Got him yet another weapon. Defense has been solid, pretty solidified on that end. So we're gonna see what Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams can do.
Yeah, yeah. But that's all I got, bro. It's been a definitely interesting draft, man. I'm curious to know, like, we talked about Shedeur, just how the NIL is going to affect players, like, in the next couple of drafts, because there was like a lot of reports where they were saying like they got to question whether players love the game or not anymore because they're trying to build their own brands. So it's going to be interesting to see if players decide to stay in college, if there's still going to be that same talent pool in the NFL now. Just long term, because I don't feel like a lot of teams are, and this can be a separate discussion, but I don't think a lot of players are developing because they're just jumping from contract to contract. So it's interesting to see what the league will look like in the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we see it with Nico currently, him being the face of the portal right now. But yeah, as far as player development and getting to where you need to be at when you get to the league, it's gonna be interesting to see. But I mean, shoot, a lot of the older players, we saw Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, for example, like they went later. Riley Leonard, they went later in the draft. So it's like even if they are developed, like we know what Riley Leonard is, we know what Quinn Ewers is, we know what Will
Yeah,
Howard is. Like it's not too much more upside that you're gonna get from them or player growth that you really gonna get from them. And they were hurt by it. So it's like
that's true. That's
we,
true.
we we've seen it across sports where like leagues are not valuing older players. So it's like I guess it's pros and cons to it, but we gonna see, man. We gonna see.
Yeah, that's real. Well, I appreciate all the people that were tapping into this. We gave you about an hour content just on Shedeur and the draft. We got more content coming your way with the NBA playoffs still going. Me and Hundo probably going to jump on again and talk about the playoffs for this next round later this week. We got more content for the NFL coming through as we prepare for this next season coming up. Like we always say, go like, share, and subscribe. Find a friend who doesn't know about the winning shot and tell them about the winning shot so that we can grow our brand and just really spread, the news and Jesus all over the world, man. So I appreciate tapping in. And we'll see you sometime next week. Peace.